Oh man, I'm good. It's a blessed day today.
Yeah,
I
man.
can't complain.
So here it is. What's this, March 13th,
Yes, sir.
2022? So that's a lot of changes going on in the world, not just the world, but our community.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So we got a special guest. Well, today it's a milestone for us.
Oh man, no. Every day is a milestone. So put that out there. Every day is a
It's a milestone for us, But one great milestone is that us as 100 Years Enterprise, we used to just doing podcasts and really just talking about ourselves, and the things what we've been going through in life. Now today it's very special and very monumental because we have one of our own, a product of our community, of our environment, who knows, the different ups and downs, the trials and tribulations of what we deal with as a people. And I admire his push, I admire his servitude, I admire where he come from, what he stand from. What he stand for. And every time I think about it, he bring a smile to my face.
Same here. And it's a beautiful thing that this day is what it is. I mean, because like you just said, it's a milestone for everybody, in this room. It's a milestone, and it's truly a blessing that we have somebody from Richmond here that's want to make a change, that is making a change, and that's a blessing within itself. I mean, especially when we just look at the history of Richmond, so it's truly a blessing that this brother is here today and that he's pushing, and we're going to continue to push with him.
I'd just like to add that, like I said, it's a blessed day, man, and I can truly say in my life, as well as the life of 100 years, that we're making the proper steps to take each step. Man, each step that we took, man, is showing us that what we do is necessary and absolutely powerful thing to do for the community of Richmond first, and then outgoing to other communities that we're going to eventually make it to. But I can say, step by step, man, it's taking us to a place, man, and heights that we even perceive for ourselves. So it's a mercy and a blessing from God that we are here, man. Like you said, every day is a blessed day, man. Like I say, man, Fahim called me this morning and said, how you feel? And I told him, man, vainglorious. But yeah, man, I'm just, humbled by what we do. Because this really take, work to focus on what we're doing. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And before we call this gentleman in, I want to just read something. It says, I'm running for Congress because I love my community and believe a better world is possible. I am the 4th generation to live and work in this community. That's deep. And without any further ado, we welcome Mr. Demnlus Johnson.
Appreciate y'all fellas. I appreciate the invitation, and most definitely happy to be here.
Oh, yeah. So how you doing today?
Oh man, I'm doing good. To use the new word that I learned today, I'm doing vainglorious.
That's right, man. Stand above the stars, as we want to say.
Indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, stand above the stars. Yeah. So in brief, I got a quick question. We got many questions, so we're gonna get there. But being a 4th person generation of Richmond, what exactly does that mean? 4th generation.
That means that I've had the opportunity to learn the history of the city and the history of the people who built this city and made this city from the perspective of those that done it without even leaving my house. Instilled in me was a sense of hard work, a sense of pride, a sense of community, and a sense of family. All of those stories passed down from traveling from the South to Richmond, and the Savoy Club, and all of the stuff that was going on back in the day, all the way up into the 80s and the 90s, and growing up in the Iron Triangle, having that opportunity to really live the experience that a lot of people talk about, and that a lot of people try to bring in programs and say that they're gonna help us, and like they talk to us like they know us, but never really been through what we've been through. being a fourth generation Richmond resident means that I've had the opportunity to live it, to see it. You know, it's this isn't a story. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is real life. And so for me, you know, I always told people when we were running for city council, because the motto was rooted in Richmond. And they was like, what does that mean? I was like, well, the best way I can explain it is I grew here. I ain't flew here.
Right.
Yeah. And what that means is, you know, and we love the people that, you know, have made Richmond their home, but at the same time, when you grow up in the city of Richmond and your parents grow up in the city of Richmond and your grandparents and your great grandparents, it's a different kind of love for the, not just for the city but for the people. And so that's what that means.
Absolutely, that's good. I like it. And you know, and that question isn't for us. It's for those who want to know, for those who might be voting for you.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Yeah, you know, and not just in Richmond, because this congressional seat in the district has been increased, it's been expanded.
Yep.
Right? So now you're going outside of Contra Costa County
Mm-hmm.
to Solano County.
Mm-hmm.
What type of challenges you think that's gonna bring? Because you have to know those people over there.
Right. And I always tell people the beautiful thing about being from Richmond is everybody from Richmond got a cousin in Vallejo. and so you know, and I don't say that to, you know, make light of, you know, their plight or things that they're going through. But a lot of the situations that's going on in Vallejo, Fairfield, and Sassoon are similar to what's happening in the city of Richmond, Pittsburgh, and Antioch when it comes to, you know, low education opportunities, the unhoused and homeless situation, affordable housing, transportation. You know, a lot of the issues, you know, sad to say, are the same. And,
Yes.
you know, those that aren't most definitely want to take the time to get to know those issues and get to know the individuals that are, you know, going through those things and looking to have a greater impact on the solution building side. And so for me, I was taught there's always a correct way to enter a space, be in a space, and leave a space. And as I'm entering the space of Solano County, Vallejo, Fairfield, and Sassoon, I want to make sure that I'm doing that respectfully and not as if I know everything that's going on, but, you know, learning. Taking what I do know and using that as a foundation, you know, to humanize and add more to the situation and not more to the problem. And so for me, when I think about, you know, the district expanding outside of Contra Costa County, because in addition to being a fourth generation Richmond resident, like a lot of people from Richmond today, you know, I moved, you know, we moved in middle school, I believe, and I ended up graduating from Pittsburgh High School. So, you know, when thinking of, you know, I had the opportunity to experience the Contra Costa side of this district. And so for me, it's about really entering the space of Solano County in a respectful manner and making sure that they know that as hard as I, you know, represent and go hard for Richmond and Contra Costa County and Pittsburgh and Antioch, I'm gonna do the same for them. And you know, even if the issues aren't the same, I'm gonna learn those issues, I'm gonna study the solutions and make sure that they fit what we have going on.
Absolutely. Good answer. Brothers?
Yeah, I'm listening and taking everything, you know, he's saying in, and I just want to say this, I truly admire you. You know, you're striving to be a real beautiful brother, you know what I'm saying, about our community. Yeah, you're taking the time out. But I want to say this though, is that the reason why I truly admire you is because I look at myself, I see you. Because we all had opportunities, regardless of what challenges that we was faced with. You know, and it's a blessing, you know, that you made it out. That you made it, that you didn't allow what was going on inside of Richmond to influence you to go to the left. And that's truly powerful to me. When I see young brothers like you, I sit back and say, I could have been, you know, great. He could have been great. I could have been great. You know, but we chose to go to the left and you didn't. And I just want to know what was said to you to make you stay on the straight path.
Well, you know, for kids, especially young black boys, it's our influences that have the greatest impact on us. And you saying that you admire me is really like a ton of bricks coming down, because growing up, I admired y'all. You get what I'm saying? I grew up on 5th and Evan, right down the street. So, you know, I admired the people that was out, because I saw the leadership skills. I saw the entrepreneurship. I saw their ability, you know, to command other men who people were afraid of. But then at the same time, were, you know, family man and community man who turned to me and said, "No, not for you." Literally, like, "No, you're not going over there. No, you can't hang out with them." Literally snatching me by the collar and saying, "No, that ain't for you." And so for me, you know, it's not like, you know, like most young black boys growing up, you see it's an option. But quite literally, the OGs on my block did not allow me to did not allow that option for me to choose that option. And that's why I always say I'm a product of my village. You know, like people try to put those brothers down and you know, try to, you know, dictate their story and what they've been through and how much they care about the community, but I'm a product of how much they care about the community.
Well said.
And that's what, you know, it wasn't anything in particular that was, you know, that I remember that was said to me. It was things that I remember that was done for me. Like constantly asking me about school, constantly asking me about my goals and what I want to do. I say I want to do something crazy. They explain to me why I can't do that. You get what I'm saying? And so it was the village that I grew up in.
Yes, that's powerful. That's powerful.
And of course, my mama wasn't happy. So.
Yeah, mom's definitely gonna have something to say about what we do. Whether we listen or not, moms always gonna have something to say.
Yeah. Oh, and my grandma too. You know.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
another thing about being a fourth generation Richmond resident. You know, when you go places and you think you about to act a fool.
Yeah.
I'm about to call Noni. I'm about to call Mooka.
Yeah.
You might get 2 or 3 whoopings.
Yeah, I'm done. We done.
Before you get to the house.
Come on, y'all. We ain't doing this. It's over.
Yeah.
Sir.
But that's a blessing, though. I'm done, though. Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna dive in because I got a question. I went in your history, man, and I got to put this out here, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because, you know, the work that we do, right, to reach out to at-risk youth and troubled youth, right, and we taking on this mission to go in the juvenile hall system and all that, right. We have a perfect. I wouldn't say perfect. I don't want to put that on you like that. I would say we have a proper example of what could be. Right? Because when we talking to young youth, right, and when we peel back all the layers, we need somebody that they can relate to in this generation, right? Because we 50, we still look good. We still
Like no crack. Yeah.
But the reality is that, you know, in society, you emulate each other, right? And so in this culture, we need people that they can relate to. If you make this transition, what you gonna transition to? And so, looking at that, right, I'm being a mentor. You the perfect example of that. So let me just read for the audience, right? I was amazed by it, right? And I start off with your early life education. So let's start with that, and then I'm gonna pose my question. Demnlus Johnson III was born November 8, 1992, at Brookside Hospital in San Pablo, California. As a child, he lived with both Iron Triangle and J.F. Kennedy Manor, which is the manor.
Yeah.
Johnson received his early education at Easter Hill Preschool before continuing on to Stage. Is that Stage? I'm saying Stage Elementary and Portland
Yep.
Junior High School. He also spent a period of upbringing in Pittsburgh, which you stated, California, where he would graduate class president for Pittsburgh High in 2010. Johnson attended St. Mary's College, California, his freshman year and went on to transfer to Howard University in the fall in 2011. Now, I'm going to stop there because I got more questions, but this is the question I have. Right? Growing up in Richmond, California, how did you navigate and stay focused on your personal goals to finish school?
You know, to answer that question, I don't, you know, because
give me what you got.
Because you said you like the person, and it's like it's not like my whole life, you know, this is what I wanted to do, and I was the perfect student, and I was always acting right and things like that. So I don't ever want to project the image that everything is all, you know. Gave my mama a heartache and had her crying, you know, like most young men that look like me. And so, you know, to be 100% honest, growing up in Richmond, it was reading for me. It was reading for me. because everybody in Richmond is like a storyteller, right? And so you hear all of these stories that's going on, and then I get to school, and the thing that I can connect with the most, because I wasn't a math and science guy. I was more of like a literature and history guy. Because once again, my surroundings, I'm hearing stories about history, and I'm hearing stories, whether they tall tales or small tales. And so for me, in school, whether, it was at Stige Elementary, Portland Middle School, Central Junior High School, or Pittsburgh High School, I was able to, use the gift that God gave me in terms of latching onto storytelling and reading and literature and writing, and use that as an opportunity to help me get through school. Because I know a lot of people feel like you got to be good at everything to be good at school. No, sometimes, a lot of times you're not going to be good at everything.
Right.
You might be good at one or two things, but those one or two things you master. And from that, you begin to master the entire thing, right? Because you begin to use that method in other subjects. And so for me, that's what it was. It's not like I was a straight A student, from Stige all the way to Howard. I'm not, and I also wasn't a straight F student. I was a pretty average. I felt like I was a pretty average learner, And when people tell me, "Oh man, you doing amazing things, you super," I'm just like, I'm just doing me. I'm just trying my best. And so for me, it's not a genius story. Once again, going back to my mom and my grandma, growing up, my grandma used to always say, "I ain't about to have no son that can't read." and so that's another reason why I latched on to reading. My cousin Regina, every time she watched it, she had us reading and on the computer, doing different things and research and stuff that we would ask her questions, and she would have us research it, or different histories and stuff like that. And so for me, it was literally my family and my love for reading and my attachment to storytelling that really like propelled me through school. Because once again, I was not a math and science guy. Still not a science guy. So for me, I learn as much as I can, and I try to apply once again those same methods that I am good at and the things that I claim not to be good at. Because once again, that's something that I'm claiming. And just because I'm claiming it doesn't mean that I can't be it.
Right. I just wanted to feel that because, I know I'm going to run across kids, right, that going to tell me as a mentor, well, they don't come from where I come from.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't been through what I've been through.
Mm-hmm.
You come from the same exact community,
Mm-hmm.
right, that the youth that we're going to be outreaching to come from. So that just when they hear it from you, it's more impactful. That's all. Well, regardless, what's your answer?
No,
is,
most
right?
definitely. Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
the fact that you did that, right? So
Yeah.
he's just like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he ain't got all the answers either, but he made the right choices.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
I got suspended from school.
Yeah, because anytime we running for these powerful seats, running for a powerful position, very powerful. And you're gonna have your constituents, those who oppose you, those who don't oppose you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna try to, they always try to dig deep and try to find something.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to those who try to dig deep into like the family history, people who might have been engaged in certain acts, will go against their normal understanding of the streets of society, you know what I'm talking about. So, so explain that.
Dig.
They don't try to do it.
I'm not ashamed.
Exactly.
I'm not
That's what I'm
ashamed
talking
of my dad's history,
Absolutely.
of my mom's history, of my grandparents' history. I'm not ashamed of nothing my folks did to survive, because I'm still here.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so for me, okay, my dad was one of the largest cocaine distributors in the underground drug economy.
Bam.
In the 80s.
But look at you now.
See that?
Come
Look
on.
at you.
Come on. He did his time.
That's it. Absolutely.
He's a productive member of society.
Yeah.
And so you can dig. Everybody's story ain't gonna be the same.
Even those you're running against.
Even those I'm running against. And
Even those
that's
you're
nothing
running
against them.
Right.
I don't throw no shade on nobody's upbringing. Because everybody did what they had to do to survive. And it may not have been the picture perfect or what the standard, may have been at the time, but I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of anything that me or my family have been through.
Absolutely. Because what we understand is that from George Washington,
Come
from
on.
Lincoln,
Yeah.
They own slaves. And you want me to be ashamed of my family?
the Kennedys, come on, the Schwarzeneggers, the Trumps,
The people that got my back and the people that poured into
It done
me
done everything.
and gave me the game. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? It's the reason why I am where I am today. You get what I'm saying? It's the reason why those individuals on my block wouldn't let me do what I did.
Mm-hmm.
They knew my family.
And that's, and I asked that question, not just for them, but for the youth.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see no matter what they family go through,
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
you
that's-
can be whatever you want to be.
Your decisions are your decisions. Their decisions are their decisions. I mean, they say the sins of the father should not be visited upon the son, but
Absolutely.
I mean, I understand that society still, doesn't like to abide by that. But for me, it's like I'm not ashamed, and it's not like I'm going around sticking my chest out proud about it, But at the same time, it's like you gotta judge when you measure a man, you gotta use the same measuring stick for everybody. Don't shorten it for nobody.
Absolutely.
And when we talk about the 80s and the 90s, let's talk about deindustrialization. Let's talk about poor education opportunities. Let's talk about the plight of the black community during that time.
It was
And
horrible.
then we can get there.
It was because we all suffer from it.
Come
we all
on.
was a part of it. And look at us. It cost us 100 years combined.
It was a plan.
Yeah.
It was a plan, and so the thing, and so I understand why you upset, because your plan was to destroy my family, so I would never be here.
Exactly.
And the plan didn't work out. So yeah, you gonna dig, you gonna bring it up, because that was supposed to stop us. And things before that was supposed to stop us. But you can't stop us. As a community.
That's a community. That's right. That's right.
So to answer that question, I'm not ashamed.
Well, you answered it perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Hey, that's the thing about being authentic. Be transparency.
Yeah.
Because people gonna ask about transparency and sometimes people get in these lucky positions and forget about the people.
Oh no, this is who I do it for.
And forget about the people.
This is who I do it for. Growing up, people in Congress, they talk about people on Section 8 and welfare and EBT and all of these other things. I grew up in a community where people needed those resources.
Still do.
Still do. And so it's not some pie in the sky esoteric like conversation that's happening for me.
Still do. EPT.
Come on. Come on.
Still do.
Come
I
on.
need it.
And so for me, I always tell people this is personal, not just because it's my family that live in the district, but because I wasn't just sitting there listening. I was empathizing and taking it in. When mothers was crying over their sons being killed.
Man.
When brothers felt like they couldn't go in certain neighborhoods because something might happen. I felt that. Even if I wasn't experiencing it myself, to see people that you love, that poured into you and didn't allow for you to go down the wrong path, so to speak, hurt. That hurts you. And so when I say it's personal, like it's really personal, because I've been at the funerals, I've been in the kitchens, I've been in the living rooms, I've heard the conversations in the different circles, the men, the women, the kids, everybody. And it's not cool. And so for me, if I have to get involved, if I have to, put my reading, my love for reading and storytelling and education to better use or greater use for the community, then I'm gonna do that, because these stories ain't cool. What we going through ain't cool. And so for me, I always say individuals can't beat institutions. And so I'm never gonna make it seem like I'm coming in to save the day, with the red cape and it's gonna be all right as soon as I get there. But at the same time, I'm gonna make sure that we can come together to come against the institution. A lot of times we didn't have individuals that was willing to give us the knowledge or the resources to help us come together.
Right.
And so for me, that's what I mean when I say it's personal.
Absolutely. It's personal. And if it wasn't personal for us, we wouldn't be here with this interview.
Yeah.
It's personal for us too.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, that's.
I mean, this is emotional for me, because, like I said, I really admire you and how you is focusing on the community. I mean, like I said, it's a blessing. It's truly a blessing. And you said something right that just knocked me all in the head when you said your love for reading.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? I couldn't read.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think about that. Maybe if I would have learned how to read, or maybe if somebody would have cared enough to show me and teach me how to read, maybe my life would have been a little better. Maybe I wouldn't have went to prison. Maybe I wouldn't have caused pain and agony within my community, And I think about that all the time. So when you said that, man, education is important. And I'm not gonna say I hope that when you do get in office, you're gonna get in office.
Right on.
Is that I know you're gonna push that to make the education system a lot better. You know, hopefully that we can have more teachers that don't just focus on a certain nationality group of students. You know, focus on everybody. And if it's a child that you see struggling, take the time out and help that child, because I was one of them.
I hear
You
you.
know, it took me to commit crime. It took me to take 2 lives and injure 2 people that I ain't proud about. And I sit up in juvenile hall at the age of 17, and I said, you know, I need to get my life together. I said, it's a possibility that I'm going to prison for a very long time for the act that I committed that I'm not proud of. And I taught myself how to read. And with that, things start opening up. So, and this is a blessed moment. And I just want to continue to say thank you. I'm probably gonna thank you today when we talk about it.
I mean, and you know, just to comment really quickly, for me, education is much more than what they teach us in the schools.
Right.
Because I got a hell of an education on 5th and Nevin. You know, and you could read. You can read a room. You can read an individual. You know, you can read a situation. And that's what I mean when I say we have to be able to use the skill sets that we already have, build on those. You get what I'm saying? Because we can. And it was from those skill sets that you were able to teach yourself how to read. Because you know you can read a room and you can read individuals. You can read a situation. I can read this book. And so, you know, that's the conversation that I like to have with the younger folks, is that you already got everything that you need to be successful. It's about learning how to use them.
Yeah, go on, say. Wow.
You know, but if you don't have nobody to teach you how to use it.
Right. No,
That's
yeah,
where the issue comes in. That's where the problem comes in at,
agreed.
you know.
Or if you got somebody teach you how to misuse them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so I like I said, I'm gonna commend you till we leave about
I
this
appreciate
room.
it. Yeah.
You know, I appreciate you, and like I said, I just want you to let the people know that you know, I know you're gonna do a good job. You know, but they need to hear that. You know, the issues, you know, that was inside of our community and the issue that's outside our community. Because the same issues, like you said, is in Vallejo, in Fairfield, you know, in Pittsburgh, you know, they spread it around. So, my first time meeting you, it wasn't no, you know, how some people say, oh, with this dude, you know. Nah, when the first day I met you at Kobe's, I'm like, yeah, this is, you know, young brother. I'm a young brother.
Yeah.
Like, you pushing.
Yeah.
You know, that like did something to me. Because it let me know that it can be done. And that's the blessing in it. And, you know, we be so down on ourselves and so get bogged in things that we see in the streets, figure that we can't, you know, that's not my area. It is your area. And if that's what you want to do, that's your area. You know, don't allow this out here to desensitize you and have you doing things that you shouldn't be doing, because guess what? This is gonna wind you in prison. You know, so like I said, I commend you, brother. You know, we gonna push together. You know, we gonna push together, and I want the people to know, vote for this brother right here.
Most definitely. Sitting here listening, man, I'm gonna be real critical all the time, because I want to highlight who you are and because who you are is gonna show what you're about. And so, with that being said, education is important, and like you said, academic structures sometimes miss when you have, like you said, certain strengths that's not in the structure, academic structure. But for you, right, since we're talking to you, right, it's most important to help people understand your travel. See, you kept it real. That's real to me.
Yeah.
They ain't real about you, you know, hitting people, hurting people, killing people, stuff. That's not real. That's something you was taught, right? But really is making it out of a situation and making the best out of a situation. So let me just read this paragraph, because I got to give you your props just by reading it. I'm going to the next paragraph and say, while at Howard University, Johnson majored in communication and mind and Africana studies. When I got arrested, I was going to Alameda College. See, and so, but I was still, the streets were still tugging at me. I was still connected to a gang. I was still like carrying a name, you know, Cyrene. I had to live up to this false image, right? And lost focus on the things that would matter the most for my future. and this is what I draw when I read this. You was focused. You was a calling, right? How was Howard University for you? Because look, see, this is the thing. Now, when I say a sharp young man, that's what I mean. Because now you in Howard University. I'm trying to get you to put out there who you was. Because you was, when you graduated from high school, you was 18, and then you went, and you was 19 years old when you went to St. Mary's. You was 19 years old when you went to Howard University. And then you went 4 years?
Yeah.
So you was 23 years old when you made it to Cal. But let's talk about the Howard University, all black college.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the moment I want you to hold on to, because this is important, right?
Yeah.
Who was you? What was that like? You know, because I always say to people, this is my thing, and I've said it 1,000 times, I'm gonna say it again. You only as good as you surround yourself with. So when you in an environment of all black college and everybody's striving for excellence, what was that like for you?
To answer that question, I'm gonna go back to the beginning, because you read a part that, you know, that a lot of people read but don't really know the story behind.
Okay.
I was at St. Mary's, and then I transferred to Howard. I wanted to go to Howard since high school. I didn't know why. Well, I knew why. It was a black college, first of all, and it was in a more urban setting. And so those was the two reasons, you know. And so in terms of the history and the heritage, you know, I knew some of it, and I knew something was happening at Howard University. I didn't know what. I didn't know if it was in the water, or if it was what they was teaching, or if it was what they was eating. But something was happening there that was creating individuals that was doing it. And so that was the goal. But I didn't get into Howard University after I graduated. I got into St. Mary's College. And so I made the best of the situation, and I went to St. Mary's College. But to be 100% honest, Howard was still on my heart. The majors that I majored in and minored in, they weren't offered at St. Mary's. And so I had to call Howard University, you know, set up a whole transfer plan, because you needed 15 credits to transfer. By the end of my first year at St. Mary's, I was only going to have 5. But I wanted it. And so I told the people at Howard, I'll go to summer school and I'll take 2 extra classes, and by the end of the summer, I'll have 15 credits total to transfer. And she said, all right, if you do that, we'll accept your transfer and your application. Went to Los Madonnas College that summer, took those 2 classes, got those 10 credits, and was able to transfer. And the trip to DC and being in DC the first time, when I always tell people, when I left home for Howard, that was my first time going to DC.
God.
I didn't know what was in DC. I didn't know what was waiting for me when I got off the plane, except for the people that was picking me up from the airport. And this was before Lyft and Uber, so I was calling family members of family members to pick me up. And so when I got to Howard, and part of the reason why another part of the reason why I wanted to transfer is because people, especially like, people have this misconception about college, that you go to college so you can learn how to make money. That was never what I was taught. I was taught that you go to college so you can develop yourself as a human being.
Man.
You can take 4 years of your life to not, you know, well, you pay all of the fees and stuff, but you know, where you just focus and you study and you get a chance to find out what it is you like to do. You might go in one way and come out another way, go in wanting to major in one thing, find that you love another thing and come out. But it's really about finding yourself and helping yourself develop into the individual that you like to be. And so for me, I felt that Howard University was the best place for me to do that at. Because
how old was you, excuse me for the interrupt, how old was you when you went to Howard? How old was you when you started?
Yeah, about 18, 19.
That's when I went to prison. That's when I went to, I was arrested at 19.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. And to, you know, get to your question, when I got there, what I saw in DC, not just on Howard's campus, was something that I never saw. You know, California is very multicultural. You know, it's a lot going on, and you see a lot. But primarily, you know, growing up where I grew up in, you know, the communities that I grew up in, seeing a bunch of black people on the train with suits on, getting off on Capitol Hill, going to work, or the attorneys, and you know, it was a little okay. All right, we work there too. We do that too, and then they go to Howard and take the classes I took, especially in Africana Studies and in communications, because it was with folks like Haile Garima, the director of the movie Sankofa, and Greg Carr, the head of the Africana Studies Department, and they're just, ripping up the books
Mm.
and giving real facts and allowing us to really think and uninterrupted, right? And connected to other thinkers of the past and allow us to learn that it didn't start with you and you wasn't the first one that wanted to do this. So now we have a roadmap and we're studying what the greats have done before us and where things have went wrong. We also protesting.
Yeah.
We also volunteering in Southeast. We going to Detroit and Highland Park, spending time in other black communities, volunteering and making sure that folks know just because we at Howard, we ain't forgot about y'all. They teaching me that it's more than it's not just about you.
Absolutely.
And I knew that because once again my village and my tribe, but to give me the words and the action behind that and how can I improve my village and my tribe it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing to have to take those math and statistics classes, and in those classes I'm talking to other black dudes that's the same age as me and I'm a math major. I ain't never met no brother that's in the math. I ain't never, in the science.
I tried it.
And so for me it was just to me folks that look like me from every walk of life. When I say every walk of life, y'all, just about every state in the United States, almost half the countries in the Caribbean and Africa are represented at Howard University. Every socioeconomic level is represented at Howard. So to hear these kids, oh yeah, my parents went to Howard and my great-grandparents went here and my dad is the CEO. I'm like, your daddy the CEO? What? Like, that it's like, okay. But then at the same time, I'm doing projects with, folks whose families were in the Black Power movement. Whose fathers and grandfathers are legends, in the civil rights movement. And so, being able to put all of those different experiences, hear about them, and it was just like being in Richmond, hearing all of those different stories and hearing all of those different experiences. And so, I'm taking it in. That's what I do. I'm taking it in. I'm empathizing. I'm sympathizing. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to really get, really trying to get to the bottom of it. And in the process of all of that, I'm making some of the greatest friends that I've ever made in my life.
Wow. Yeah.
I always tell people, my friend Melquam Shaw, who I met my first year at Howard from South Carolina, was the first time that I've, because coming from Richmond, you gotta, like you said, who is this man? Let me watch my back, was the first time that a friendship was formed and nothing was expected. There was times that, I went to Howard University because sometimes at black colleges, housing gets real sparse.
Right.
So I would go back really not knowing where I was going to stay. And you staying with me and my auntie. You staying with me and my sister. Hold on, let me pay you. Let me give you some. Man, don't you ever pull out your money over here. And it's like.
And that's what's missing.
You get what I'm saying?
That's what's missing.
And so for me, it was like, it was a whole reawakening. You get what I'm saying? And it was an opportunity to really develop my mind, really develop who I wanted to be. Like I said, I was a TV film production major. I interned at BET Networks, did a whole bunch of projects. But when I was coming home, it was, coming home to funerals and people dying. And so for me, sometimes you get a little survivor's, remorse and stuff like that. And it's like, I'm all the way out here at Howard, having all of these great experiences and a chance to grow up and develop myself. But a lot of my friends and family not. And I'm also volunteering in DC, Highland Park, DC. I need to volunteer in my own community.
Right.
So when I graduated, it was taking all of those experiences and all of those things that was happening at once and coming back home and trying to make a difference. I didn't know where I was going to start. I didn't know it was going to lead to all of this, but I knew I had to do something.
And the point I want to add to that, brilliantly spoken, that you hit right on the nail what I wanted you to convey. The reason I was asking you that question because in our life that would happen with us. we ended up going to prison and turning into a university, right? And they would, same way they would do, you earned your right to be not transferred, my bad, to go from St. Mary's to Howard. We had to fight and get to a better position in prison to get our chances to get it out of prison.
Yes, indeed.
Right, not to highlight that, but it was like, that turned into our university, right? That helped us mold our friendship and become who we are today, right? So no matter where you at in the world, right? That's why I always stick to that concept. Because you surround yourself, you don't know who you might meet, but you got to be in the right area, in the right arena to do so. So I asked you that question, man. I mean, man, it's powerful. I was reading your story and I was just like loving this dude, man, because you showing perseverance. You showing it, you're doing it alone. You ain't coming with a crew of cats. You made the decision on your own that you wanted to be better, and it was a challenge.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But you rose to the occasion, man, and I commend you for that.
I appreciate that.
For real.
Sorry.
Much respect, much respect. As we focus on community building, bridging the gaps, filling these holes up, two things we'll be dealing with right now is violence. There's a lot of violence in the community, well as the unhoused situation. That's very prevalent right now. And so when you say Vallejo, Fairfield, Pittsburgh, Antioch, Richmond, and what's the other three?
Sassoon. All of the cities in West County, so Hercules, El Cerrito, Pinole, San Pablo.
Yeah. So basically you got over 10 area codes. Close, 10 different area codes, right? And so when you're dealing with all those area codes, now you're dealing with different people who really don't know you. Because you were just so, enthroned in Contra Costa County. But actually West Contra Costa County, right? So when you're dealing with the gun violence, how do we attack that?
Well, when it comes to gun violence, the first thing we gotta do is stop acting like we know. Because gun violence occurs for different reasons, right? It can be out of hurt and pain that people are feeling, whether that hurt and pain is stemming from their socioeconomic situation or their home situation, or even maybe somebody else, was murdered or killed, but that hurt and that pain is causing them to, want to commit gun violence. Sometimes gun violence is committed out of, economic necessity, financial necessity.
When you say economic necessity, what you mean by that?
Sometimes folks feel like all they got is robbing.
They miss something missing.
And so something is missing, so I gotta go take it. And so what we have to begin to do with gun violence is first stop acting like we know. And when I say we, I mean folks in government, folks, who trying to come in with this red cape on. I know I use that, I use that saying a lot, but when you grow up where I grew up, you see a lot of people come in with that red
trying
cape
to play
on.
Superman.
Yeah, and it's like, y'all ain't even asked us what's going on.
Exactly.
In different communities that I named, I know that gun violence is committed for different reasons, Some of that gun violence may be over territory, some of that gun violence may be over, resources in the underground economy. And for me, it's about really having that understanding of first, why is it being done?
Hey, the root cause.
The root cause of it.
Yes, because you have many of those who run. You got like 5 or 6 people running against you, right? And I only heard of one.
Yeah.
Jeremy, he the oldest one. And so when we dealing with this climate, and you have people running for these different positions, for us as a people and as a community, it's imperative that we understand who they are. But not just for us understanding who they are, they have to understand who the people are.
Yes, indeed.
Because there's no one without the people.
Right.
Right? There's no leadership without the people. And it's important for the people to really know, because you can get in these positions, as we said earlier, and just say, I'm here. Well, why are you here? The question, what are you trying to do?
Right.
So I got a question from a 13-year-old asked me this morning. He want me to ask you this question.
Yes, indeed. I love the questions from the youth.
Right. And he said, his name is Macy, I mentor him. He said, ask the mayor about the slow police response. He had an issue a couple months ago in Vallejo, and he said that the police took hours to get there. So how do we deal with that?
Well, when it comes to, and this is, once again, going back to, what I was saying about investing in our communities and in the gun violence, we have to be willing to invest on both ends, right? Because an overinvestment in either is not a balance, and that's what we're trying to achieve, right? And so we have to make sure that we invest in programs that allow our kids to, develop themselves and to reach the age of 18 so they can make those decisions. But then at the same time, we have to make sure that we are properly staffing and providing resources so police officers can respond to calls. Because we all want somebody to, come and help us if we're being robbed or if somebody is hurting us. And so my response to that is we have to make sure that our police departments are doing that. I think that's what everybody wants the police to do.
Right.
I always say, the police work really well in white communities. We just want them to do the same in our community.
Absolutely.
And not kill nobody. And so when it comes to that, we have to, I know I say once again, we, the federal government and government overall, has to be willing to, properly fund, and make sure that the police department is properly staffed and trained. And that the culture, and that culture that does provide for, situations like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor to not happen.
Right.
And so for me, when I hear a question like that, I think about response to calls. And it's like, we still want response to calls. And I think that's where, and I don't mean to get too off subject, but I think that's where a lot of people hijack the Black Lives Matter movement and the call for reallocation of funding from from police departments. They made it seem like we didn't believe in the police or that we didn't want the police in our communities. And it's like, no, we want somebody to show up because, we want trained professionals to show up who gonna handle the situation and not us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because we don't, like you said, we don't want the funds allocated somewhere, but it's not going where it's supposed to go.
Right.
And because and we heavy on reacclimation back to society and returning citizens.
Oh yeah.
And so, I have another question. What will you strive to do to have more outreach programs for those who coming home, returning citizens, reentry programs, outreach programs for those who've done 20 and 30 years like we did?
Mm-hmm.
Because in Richmond, we don't really have any transitional homes. Outreach, so now people being released from serious crimes, right? And they need somewhere to go. They need different programs to go to. We doing some things, but more need to be done. And I believe that if it was more funding, even for us, more funding, that a lot of serious things can be taken care of.
Yeah.
I see you smiling.
No, I'm smiling because you hit it right on the head, and I was like, in my head. Funding, on the funding side, and also working with the various cities, once again, understanding what's needed in those cities, because some cities may have transitional homes where others don't. So those cities may need the funding, and the other cities may need, program funding.
Right.
And so for me, it's about having a deeper understanding of the needs when it comes to re-entry population in each community, because what I don't want to do is come in and say, okay, well, no, nobody got this, so we need to give everybody this. And it's like, well, I don't know that.
Right.
Once again, it's the correct way to enter a space.
Absolutely.
And for me, entering this space of, providing resources and services for the re-entry population is making sure that I'm communicating with cities and municipalities and programs as well to see what type of funding is needed, what type of programming is needed, and what. Always say, can't act like I know.
Right. And that's why, as you said earlier, when you was coming up, it's going to take a village.
Mhm.
Right? We part of the village.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We part of the village. And these questions that I'm asking are coming from members of the community.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So we talked about the unsheltered, but a quick question in regards to other unsheltered. What you think about these mini houses, what they trying to build in different places?
I think, once again, when it comes to the unhoused and the homeless, we got to try everything. And look, I'm saying homeless, and we come up with more names to describe them than programs and actual help. And
Exactly.
so for me, it's like, if it's tiny homes, okay, but then what's next after the tiny homes? Because we can't expect people to just stay in tiny, retire from in tiny homes.
Because they'll get comfortable and don't want to do anything else.
I mean, but then also, what kind of wealth generation is that? Like the idea is to transition people back, and get people back on their feet, and so for me, we have to create a full plan with the homeless.
Yes.
Because a lot of times they're not at the table. Once again, it's just like in our communities, people coming in with the red cape. A lot of folks come in with the red cape for the unhoused community as well. And so we have to be willing to sit down and plan with the unhoused community and a real long-term plan, right? And everybody ain't the same. Some folks may need some rehabilitation services before they can be on their own.
Right, okay, now, in regards to that, the rehabilitation, now this is along the same lines. What about in terms of mental health clinics? Because a lot of, they dealing with mental health. So how many mental health, off the top of the head, how many mental health clinics do you think are in Richmond?
We don't have mental health clinics in Richmond.
Exactly.
Everybody gets sent to John George.
See, so we need one in Richmond.
We need more. I mean, and this is going all the way back to the Reagan administration, right?
Right.
But this is what I say is the problem. We know that the Reagan administration defunded mental health clinics.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan administration was before I was born, so why we ain't try to move on that since then?
Because we didn't have people like us. We didn't have people like you.
And so for me, it's like we and I'm not saying that people haven't, some folks have, and people have tried and failed, but then at the same time, we need people that's gonna keep trying. We need people that's that understands that it's not it's in addition to the unhoused population that need mental health services, it's everyday people
Right.
that need a little recalibration.
Because oftentimes, when we talk about the help, do the powers that be actually want to see that change? That positive change for the people? Because you say it happened, it began with the Reagan administration, right? So you had Reagan, after Reagan we had the Bushes, right? From the Bushes we had the Clintons, then we had Obama, and then we had Trump. So we had all those different administrations. So we had trillions of dollars been sent down to all these different cities, right? And states. It's been a lot of greasy palms. Palms get greased. They get the money and run away, build big homes, whatever they doing, but the people still suffer.
But
Poverty pimping.
can I add something to that though, Fahim?
Go ahead.
That's important.
Yeah.
And I think, and it was, if I'm mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, in the Bush era, that they did pass, when you talk about mental health, a lot of that deal with the passing of the medication, the war on medication they passed not so much medication, because even in prison, you got long lines of people, I'm talking about young men, man, that's on medication,
That was
man.
Bush.
That was
But
Bush.
that was Bush did that.
Right, so
after that war with Iraq.
Right, and
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is that here it is that President Ronald Reagan, as we said,
Yes.
shut down, took a lot of defunded mental health,
Yeah.
right? But then again, they passed a bill, right, which they got behind to, be able to pass out as much medication as possible.
Well, that's because they're in bed with the pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly.
And we saw, and from that, we see this opioid crisis.
Everybody was
that's
on
going
Oxycontin.
Oxycontin.
I was on Oxycontin with a messed up knee.
You get what I'm saying?
So I know
And
how it
you go to places like West Virginia, and even entire states have entire opioid epidemics taking place. You get what I'm saying? And so we have to be willing to like go up against these giants.
We have to.
Because one thing you were saying that stood out to me as you were setting up the question was, you're going to be representing all of these different zip codes.
Right.
And for me, it's the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
It's literally called the House of Representatives.
That's what it is.
You have to be able to represent the people, your constituency that you come from, not talk about them or tell their story or anything like that. But you have to understand and to really represent, there has to be no imitation in it.
Can't be.
Because at that point it's disrespectful and it's unauthentic, right?
Yeah.
Real representation is authentic. And right now, That's what we provide the voters with, a choice in that.
Mm-hmm.
You have a choice in authentic representation to choose somebody that is willing to authentically represent you.
Exactly.
In all of our glory and shame. you get what I'm saying? Like every class, nobody gets forgotten with me.
Yeah, because we don't want those who just chasing at their personalities.
Yeah.
Exactly. And for me, I always tell people, for me, it's about representing the people who don't have it and the people that have it.
Yeah.
Who kind of have it. You get what I'm saying? As we sometimes say in my family, who kind of poor pocket.
As you on that point, because, we constantly hear the word, the have and the have-nots, the upper class, lower class, but where's the middle class?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree that there is no more middle class?
I would say that the middle class is fastly declining. And some of it, to be quite honest, is to its own demise.
And what do you mean by its own demise?
Exclusionary practices in certain middle class hiring jobs. Exclusionary practices and middle class home ownership. In the continued practice of those exclusionary practices, and it's just like, for me, it's once again, nothing happens in a vacuum, and so we have to look at both ends of it.
Yes.
We have to look at ourselves as the middle class.
Absolutely.
How do we get here? But then also there are some things happening. There, not even some. It's a lot of things happening. The 1%, man, a lot of money during COVID. How the middle class steadily shrinking during COVID, but at the same time, the 1% is making money. California's surplus, our
I can
budget
answer that
surplus.
question.
Yeah.
EDD and PPP.
Yeah.
That's how they made it.
Yeah, and I don't say that to
No, but it's true though. I understand what you're saying.
We blame ourselves, but then at the same time, it's like, if we're gonna be serious about rebuilding the middle class, then we gotta get serious. And when I look at programs like Richmond Build, Rising Sun, Bright Futures, programs that's helping people of color and women get more involved in middle class jobs that have been traditionally, exclusionary to people of color. Even in Contra Costa County right now, our building and construction trades is over 60% people of color and women.
Yes.
And so, when that begins to rebuild the middle class, you get what I'm saying? Being more inclusive is what's going to help us get back on our feet, because a lot of these jobs aren't going away.
True. Because I know you spoke in one of the articles about infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Biden passed, he passed like 2 packages within the last year about infrastructure, $1 trillion packages.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been seeing, a lot of roads and highways, being fixed. But a lot of areas are being missed. A lot of areas, and this is one area. When I go look in the Santa Fe area, the Iron Triangle area, when you start from 1st Street and go all the way down to like 23rd Street, a lot of those areas are still damaged. How do we ensure that those streets and those roads are good for our kids, are good for our grandparents who got to walk down those streets, got to drive down those streets, our parents, our loved ones?
Well, to address the first part of your statement about the Richmond streets, this is something that I've heard since I was campaigning.
Yes.
And so what I did was, in this reparations, equity, and inclusion package that I created and had passed unanimously by the city council, it includes a pavement equity index.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does is it looks at streets that like the ones you just mentioned,
Yes.
Streets that haven't been repaved in a long time, and prioritizes those roads.
I've seen some going like 7th Pennsylvania, they started down there. Different, I think Ripley and certain other streets are being done.
But and what I'm saying is, to connect that and answer your question is, what we have to begin to do, what I have to do is, what I want to do is take that local approach of equity in infrastructure to the federal level.
Okay.
Begin to ask those questions. when we're talking about these large infrastructure bills, okay, that's great. We most definitely want to expand Highway 4 and, improve traffic and all of this other stuff. But then let's also have this conversation about equity infrastructure.
Right.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's what change started.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you guys, a lot of times people don't separate the policy from the politics.
Right.
The politics is how you get the policies passed.
Man.
Right. But
Oh,
if you ain't got a good product, then what you politicking for?
Exactly.
Don't want to know it.
You get what I'm saying? Or if somebody even asks you to endorse a policy, you don't even know what you endorsing for real, or what you out there politicking on behalf of, because you don't even know what's going on for real. And so for me, my whole my love for people, I always say I can't allow for my folks to get played.
Exactly.
And then not allow for my folks to get played, I can't allow for myself to get played.
Sure.
So that's where that all comes from.
That's right. I have a question.
I gotta read.
Oh, go ahead.
I got two questions. Safety in our community. Make the people, what it's gonna take to make the people feel safe in our community, so we can start attracting, black-owned business in our community. Because I know that was once touched on before. Because we have a lot of people that grew up in Richmond that got business outside of Richmond. But I understand why, because it's not safe. So, what resources can you bring, which I know you're gonna bring, because you're gonna get, in our,
Yeah.
I know that. Just let the people know what resources, you're gonna bring to tackle these issues. Number one, safety.
Yeah, when it comes to safety, once again, it's that multi-pronged approach, making sure that we have those programs. Once again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we got to have those programs so that way we don't have youngsters looking to destroy businesses. You get what I'm saying? Or rob businesses. But then at the same time, we also have to provide resources to businesses, especially small businesses, because I believe that was the main focal point of the question.
Yes.
We have to make sure that we provide resources to small businesses to help them secure their property.
Absolutely.
Help them, make sure that they can afford insurance, if something does happen, because, we can make everything safe and order, but that doesn't guarantee that nothing will happen, and that's what insurance is for, right? So we got to make sure that black businesses and other, minority-owned businesses and businesses of color, have the resources, the financial resources they need to really secure their business.
Absolutely.
And also, going back to what I was saying earlier, we also got to make sure that we're properly funding these departments so that they can respond to the calls if something does happen.
Have to. Absolutely. That was a good question, too. Hey, this is from Moms Demand Action.
Mm-hmm.
They had two questions.
Yep.
They said, is there a firearm safe storage ordinance in Richmond? This would mean loaded or unloaded weapons must be safely stored so that children, etc., can't get a hold of them.
To my knowledge, to my direct knowledge, I don't believe there is. But, of course, I'm going to go back first thing in the morning and email the staff and find out if there is, and if there isn't, I'll be more than happy to bring one forward. I think it's a very sensitive. I'm not anti-gun,
Right.
but at the same time, I am we have to be very smart about. You have to be very smart about these weapons, because don't nobody want to hear about no baby shooting themselves because they got a hold to something they weren't supposed to touch. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So for me, it's about minimizing as many sad stories as possible. And if all we got to do is lock it up, let's I don't mind bringing that forward to make sure that that's the law of the land.
Right. Nice answer. Okay, they have and their second question is, can he make a proclamation that where orange is recognized as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Richmond?
More than happy to. As I was making, gun violence is plaguing more cities than one in District 8. And for me, if I'm gonna say that I'm trying to have a serious and positive impact and put an end to it, I have to be willing to put forth proclamations and put my name on and put my name on
Absolutely.
it. And so most definitely more than happy to bring forth a proclamation, proclaiming the month of June as Gun Violence Awareness Month, because we do need to raise as much awareness as possible.
Yes. And my last question, in regards of safety and violence, as Dante was saying, someone else had a question. this morning, one of the young ladies, she asked, what we're gonna do about trying to get the young girls off the streets.
Yes, yes.
Getting these young girls off the streets.
So actually, I have an agenda item coming up on the 22nd. The Richmond Community Foundation is going to give a presentation on the program that they have called Equity for Black Women and Girls.
Mm-hmm.
This is in line once again with the reparations, equity, and inclusion package that I put together. Because just going back to my work at Richmond High School, I saw that there was specific programming as needed for young men and young ladies, and then also for individuals who don't identify as neither, right? Because we want our kids to grow up just as free as everybody else's kids. And so one thing that I realized working with the young ladies is, because we talk about the expulsion and the suspension of young black boys, but the same thing is happening to young black girls. I always tell people, our kids don't get to be kids. They over-sexualize our girls and they criminalize our boys. And that's black, brown, you get what I'm saying? Like, students of kids of color often have to go through that. And so, that's why I'm helping to sponsor this agenda item. It's going to be more on there. I don't want to give away too much of the sauce right now.
That's right.
But most definitely, we do have something coming down the pike for black women and girls. Also, the Family Justice Center here in the city of Richmond for young ladies who are being trafficked and want to transition out of that lifestyle as well, or whose family want to help them transition out of that lifestyle. Those services are also here in the city of Richmond, and making sure that when I do get to the federal level, that we can provide that kind of funding for cities throughout District 8 that are suffering from some of these issues, with our young lady population. And so, that. I ain't forgot about the ladies.
That's
Can't forget about the heartbeat.
Exactly, because I know time is running out, but it's going to take a village, and we really appreciate you. Before we go here, what made you, Mr. Johnson, to say, hey, I want to connect with 100 Years Enterprise to do not one, but 2 community forums when it's hard to get people in a room together in Richmond? What made you want to do that?
It was part of the reason why I ran. When we started having the conversations about, having a community forum and talking about reinvesting in the community and, putting an end to gun violence here in the city of Richmond based on our unique situation in history, that's why I ran. Going back to coming home from Howard for Christmas break and having to attend funerals or be a pallbearer in the funeral, for people who I grew up with. So yeah, let's do it. Let's have those conversations. Let's begin to talk, because the only way we really gonna be able to stop it is if we talk to people and begin to have those conversations with the folks that are on the ground and experiencing it like firsthand. And so for me, in terms of the second one, that was a no-brainer, because you got to have a follow-up.
Right.
For me, I always tell people, I don't have nothing to prove. I don't prove nothing to nobody but to the people. And one thing I always want to let people know is I'm always coming back.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
I'm always coming back. Now I'm not the perfect person, and I'm not, you have to call me, hey, Dem, get down here, and I'm on my way.
There it is there.
You get what I'm saying? I might forget. I might, you may have to call me one more time, but at the same time, I don't want the people to ever feel like that was a one and done. I've been to those.
Absolutely.
Once red cape, you get what I'm saying?
Right.
I've been in the community and people, we about to do this, we about to do this, we about to do this, and nothing.
Nothing happens.
What did I even show up to the first one for?
We appreciate that. And when is the next one, gentlemen?
Yeah, I think in June, because we was gonna get it after.
June. So you ready for this third one?
I'm ready for the third one. I really love the suggestion that the young lady had at the end of the second one, when she was like, should have different workshops and stuff like that going on, or different people leading workshops.
Yeah.
And so, most definitely would love to, bring her in as well.
Right.
If the opportunity presents itself.
We do want to have more women involved.
Mm-hmm.
We need more women involved, and so we gonna work on that. Get her involved and.
And the beautiful thing about it is they want to be involved.
They want to be involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing about the community overall, whether it's the black community, the brown community, the Asian community, even the white community, at the end of the day, people, in my heart, I truly believe that people want want to work together and want to be together.
Most definitely.
Yes.
I truly believe don't nobody want problems for real.
I agree.
And so,
We want peace.
And once again, not a red cape kind of guy. But at the same time, if I gotta be the one to start the conversation or bring folks together or use my influence and resources to, my privilege,
Yes.
I'm gonna just call it what it is. Use my privilege to do that, then I'm most definitely gonna do that.
Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
I just want to say, thank you, brother. Like I said, I'm going to thank you till we walk up out of here. It's a beautiful thing, that you're doing, giving back to the community in a major, major way. But not just this community, but different community that's, suffering, all around the world. So this is beautiful, and I appreciate you.
Most definitely.
Thank you.
I ain't gonna say much. Just say that I did overhear the phone call when Fahim called you, and just to hear you say, "Man, I'm on my way," says a lot, says everything. So you stand alone. You're credible. You everything, every subject we talked about, you embody it. So my point was to lay that out so people will know you for who you are. You earned that right. And so with that being said, man, I just want to tell you again, thank you for your time. Out of your day on this beautiful Sunday, man, to hear your politics, man.
I appreciate y'all, and I not only will I rap with that, but I'll rap with saying this. That's the kind of candidate I am. That's the kind of elected official I am. Once again, just using how I was raised and applying it to something else. I'm a bounce out kind of leader.
Mm-hmm.
You call me, I'll pull up.
Absolutely.
It's going down in the community. It's time to bounce out and make something happen. And so for me, I'm a bounce out kind of elected.
Absolutely. We
So
appreciate that.
just call me and I'm gonna pull up.
And there we have, we have 100 Years Enterprise. Our very first interview. I don't know if we taking the next step into journalism or not. But we here, and I just gotta get. Come on, man. You gotta,
yes.
Come on,
Brothers,
Oh,
support
yeah.
the people and vote for the
It's
brothers.
all good, man.
June
Most
7th.
definitely.
June
Most
7th. Yes,
It's
indeed.
going down,
Man,
man.
appreciate that. Man.
Love y'all.
All
Yeah,
y'all
man,
that's out there
too.
watching, support the
We gonna-
brothers.
we gonna
vote for
keep
the
on-
good brothers. It's all
we
about
gonna
the
keep
people,
on
all about
pushing, man.
love,
Yes,
understanding.
Exactly. 100 Years Enterprise, and we got this here.
Yep.
All right, and thank you for our cameraman, our dear brother Sharon.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
He was smiling the whole
Yeah,
time.
come on, man. But you know you gotta get it.